Last year, I was appointed as an ambassador for the Red Squirrel Survival Trust. I could never have imagined that my photography work with red squirrels in Sweden could lead me to becoming an ambassador for a conservation charity. And last summer I headed to Cumbria, where I had the opportunity to properly observe British red squirrels for the first time. But now I'm heading further north, to the Scottish Highlands. I'm going to find out about a unique conservation story in this incredible landscape. Thank you Squarespace for supporting this video. I've created a new page on my website about my role as an ambassador for the Red Squirrel Survival Trust. On Squarespace, it was really easy to add text, a gallery, and an embedded video. I love Squarespace. It's super simple to make a professional website, and it's really easy. Head to squarespace.com/daniconnorwild to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using the code daniconnorwild. I'm in Scotland, and I'm here to tell the story of the Scottish red squirrel. I've been here a few days already, and we've had absolutely atrocious weather. Rain, heavy wind, hail, and now it is so nice and calm and serene, and there's even sun. But I've got a few more days and I'm super excited to find some red squirrels and to tell their story here in Scotland. Welcome to the Scottish Highlands. These mountainous ranges are characterised by their vast openness. Sky-high peaks, long lochs, and weather that is constantly changing. They say you can experience 4 seasons in a day in Scotland. I'm starting my red squirrel adventure in Ben Shieldig, and the landscape is just incredible. There is snow on the mountains, there are red deer grazing in the distance, but to get around, we were going to get a car, and instead we've got this. A van. I'll be travelling around in the van for a week, learning from people about the unique red squirrel conservation story here. My journey starts in Ben Shieldig, and thanks to the Woodland Trust, I'm staying at the Calderon Estate that has the most beautiful views. Today I'm heading to this special woodland. This is Scotland's rainforest. Although it may not look like the type of rainforest you're familiar with, it has many of the same characteristics as a tropical rainforest. High rainfall, a mild climate, old growth trees, and the presence of mosses and lush lichens. Many woodlands in the Highlands are fragmented and disconnected. Red squirrels had become extinct in this woodland a long time ago, until 30 red squirrels were released into this woodland a few years ago. We've just arrived to the forest where the red squirrels were introduced, and just in front of me is a feeder, and we filled it up with hazelnuts. So hopefully somewhere in this forest is a red squirrel and we can get some shots of it, but we're just gonna wait. After a few hours of waiting, we were unlucky to see any squirrels, but I set up a trail camera to monitor the squirrel feeder. I then met up with Kat, who told me about rewilding and the importance of introducing red squirrels back to this woodland.
I'm Kat, I'm the Education Manager for the Dundragon Rewilding Centre. Rewilding is really simply about working with natural processes, and through that wildlife can flourish and communities can thrive. It's a tool really that helps us to face the biodiversity crisis that we're facing and the climate crisis that we're facing. It's a way of working with nature that can basically help us build a more resilient society and landscape. In 2016, Trees for Life and the Woodland Trust worked with local volunteers from the area to bring 30 red squirrels back to the woodlands here. This is a place that hadn't seen red squirrels in quite a while, disappeared from parts of the Highlands. But what we have here is prime red squirrel habitat, a mixture of trees, lots of Scots pine, a good mixture of ages of trees. So really ideal habitat, but no way for the squirrels to get here because they don't really like travelling across open ground. We did something called a translocation, which is moving squirrels from one area to another to help the population to grow and to spread. Red squirrels are essentially trapped in islands of habitat. Wildlife can't spread between these different islands without our help. Rewilding is also really important for people's physical and mental health. It's been shown that spending time around trees and green spaces really boosts people, and I think that's becoming more and more vital. And that's something that we're really keen to bring to people through the Dundragon Rewilding Centre, is just to be able to share positive experiences and positive tools that everybody can get involved with. We're looking forward to opening that in spring 2023.
What I've learnt speaking to Kat is that there's habitat in the Scottish Highlands that's ideal for squirrels. But if there's open land and no trees connecting the habitats, squirrels can't get to them. So translocating and releasing squirrels is a solution to one problem. But they still remain isolated. You're 7 minutes into the film, and I know you're going to ask, Danny, where are the red squirrels? Well, I was kindly invited to a garden where one of the released squirrels had decided to call home. Gardens are sometimes a great place to ensure shots of squirrels, but it's not quite the same as a red squirrel in a wild woodland. So I'm heading back to the woodland to meet Kaz, who is going to tell me about the importance of the trees and the future of this woodland for the red squirrels.
My name's Kaz Austin and I'm the estate ranger here at Ben Shieldig for the Woodland Trust. We're sitting in the pine woods here at Ben Shieldig, and these are an exceptionally important remnant of Caledonian pine wood. They're one of only 84 remnants left in Scotland. These were populated after the last ice age, so they've been here for a very long time. And what's really special about these woods here is that they're genetically distinct from other woods in Scotland. Very special, and they're really worth preserving and expanding. The Woodland Trust took over Ben Shieldig in 2019, and our aim really for the estate is to protect the Scotland rainforest, and then just recently we've actually doubled the size of the estate, so we've taken on a neighbouring estate called Oran. We're really looking at ecological restoration of the wider landscape, which is really miles and miles of open hill. Very hard for species such as the red squirrel to repopulate and expand across the landscape. The importance really of linking these habitats is they really need to have a bit of connectivity in the landscape. This is a real long-term vision for us. Trees actually find it quite hard to grow here. It's challenging conditions. In a couple of 100 years' time, I would just hope that we have this kind of real vibrant mosaic of habitats and thriving wildlife of all sorts of different species, right the way from the invertebrates through to the larger mammals, and for people as well to enjoy too.
The red squirrels here are proving to be quite elusive. Patience is key with wildlife photography. I'll wait hours in all weather conditions for that one beautiful encounter with my target species. So the first problem the squirrels had was, well, they simply weren't there. So red squirrels were translocated and released. The second problem is that their population can't really expand. But as Kat said, the Woodland Trust now manages another huge area of land. So the plan is to expand the woodland so that a larger population of squirrels can be supported. But how do you expand a woodland? The plan is to plant at least 1 million trees that have to be genetically similar to the trees already here. That's not an easy task. You need people power, the power of volunteers. And now I'm going to meet Kaylee, one of the crucial volunteers involved.
My name's Kaylee. I've been volunteering for the Woodland Trust for a couple of years now. Initially it was to do the squirrel monitoring, to find out how far the squirrels that were reintroduced here have spread. Take a square of land and look for signs of squirrels, like the bits of half-eaten pine cones. That one's been eaten by a mouse. When it's just like all rotten into the ground. Right. They do an all-round sort of job, the squirrels. We spend a lot of time looking at the ground, just looking for the signs that they've been there. So you spend an awful lot of time walking, looking at your feet and the ground around you. I've also been doing some seed collecting, which will then be brought back here in a year or 2 years for the replanting project, which will extend the area that red squirrels will have for habitat. The two projects are linked. The seeds are for the trees and the trees are for the squirrels. I love being outdoors and I love nature. I'm quite passionate about the squirrels being brought back to this part of Scotland. It is nice that finally, we're getting some back in this area. There used to be red squirrels right across this part of the land, so it's really nice to have them back again.
It was inspirational meeting Kaylee, Kaz and Kat and hearing their part of this conservation story. One of the most important things I've learnt about conservation is that it's about people and collaboration. And to stay optimistic, stories of positive change and hope will inspire us to make decisions that make a positive difference for nature. The story here at Ben Shieldig can be a case study for future conservation projects. Unfortunately, I didn't see any squirrels in the woodland, but the hazelnuts have disappeared, so something is definitely eating them. And I'm about to check the trail camera footage to see what was eating the hazelnuts. Hopefully a squirrel. Alright, first clip. Okay. We've got a squirrel, and it looks like a female, but he or she stayed until 2 o'clock and almost emptied the feeder of hazelnuts. Then the following morning, another red squirrel, probably the same one, yeah, it looks like the same one, arrived at 7:30 and emptied the feeder by 9 o'clock. Then we came back and filled up the feeder, and then the same squirrel arrived almost bang on, same time, at 7:30, and then 1:20. That's a very big squirrel. Aha, it's a pine marten eating the peanuts. That's super cool. It's cool to use trail camera footage because you can actually compare the size difference of a red squirrel and a pine marten. Obviously, the pine marten is a predator of the red squirrel, but red squirrels are quite light, so they can get onto the edge of branches and actually escape a pine marten. But if it was a grey squirrel, that pine marten would get that grey squirrel because grey squirrels are quite heavy. And then at 10 o'clock, the red squirrel came back the following morning after the pine marten. She looks really nervous. She's having a good sniff around. She knows that pine marten was there. But she's also sniffing for hazelnuts, realises there's nothing there, and leaves. She doesn't want any peanuts. So we definitely know there are red squirrels in that forest. Unfortunately, I just didn't see any. Tomorrow I'm actually leaving Ben Shieldig and I'm going to the Cairngorms and I'm going to a hide to hopefully get some footage of red squirrels. And it looks very different there, as I believe everything is covered in snow. Finally, after waiting hours and hours, I had my first glimpse of the Squirrus aquaticus, the aquatic squirrel. It saddens me that after 6 days of looking, I couldn't find any other red squirrels. Although these are probably my best duck shots ever, I'm not sure Red Squirrel Survival Trust will find them useful. So the search continues.
Look at that! Fucking Yeti! That must have been a tall man.
After discovering aquatic squirrels and Bigfoot, I headed to a new location. I was heading home that night, so this was literally my last chance to photograph red squirrels. And finally, a red squirrel appeared. A gorgeous Scottish red squirrel with long ear tufts and a beautiful red winter coat. The red squirrels were a little nervous to begin with, but they soon showed their full character. My trip in the Scottish Highlands has sadly come to an end, but the conservation story in other areas of Scotland is quite different. So I'll be returning to tell more stories about the Scottish red squirrel.